pleasure. I met Ambassador Sunel in Delhi. That would be end of last year. I didn't know and I didn't realize that we will have this conversation. And I'm so grateful that you managed your time to come to Bhutan, particularly also to join Bhutan Echoes. And I have a signed copy of his book that he gratefully gave me. Ishi did a good job by giving a great introduction. I just wanted to add a few things, if I may. Ambassador
Please
Sunel.
go on.
Eh?
Yes, sir.
So, Ambassador Sunel has a great career as a career diplomat, a lawyer. I wanted to uncover or discover why he writes, that motivation, and how your diplomacy, your career as a diplomacy, as author and writer, these are two ancient forms of art to communicate, to influence, to build society, create imagination, create peace, many others. They complement each other. So you have done remarkable work. I think what Ishi didn't mention, you are also a Vatican lawyer, international lawyer. You served as a Director General of Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, particularly looking at international legal aspect. Thank you so much also joining many of the conversations that we had in Bhutan online from Delhi with upper house, the honorable member of the upper house, as well as students of the JSW Law School, sharing your knowledge about international law. So today we're not going to discuss about international law, and today would be the two ancient art. One is diplomacy and one is writing. And you know, after working so many years in UNDP, or UN system, Cornel, you are also there, UN system, at time our imagination become slightly different than, you know, my ability to read a fiction has gone down, tremendously gone down, and we'll talk about that. I have a question then. You are a career diplomat. You started your career as a lawyer. Why do you write?
So, why do I write? This question sounds to me like, why do you breathe? Okay, I know I am exaggerating a bit, but you know, as a fictionist, I like to exaggerate. So writing is not like breathing or water, food, and air, but it is an indispensable part of mine. So it's very important for me. When I write, my body produces serotonin, and I feel really happy. So in the golden hours, in the mornings, I start writing a couple of hours, and then I feel productive. And then when I leave home for the office, I feel very good because I have already accomplished something. I did something good. I was productive. And this serotonin, it influences my all day. They make my day. So this is a habit. You know, some people, they like their morning walks. When they get up early and walk, they feel happy. So it is the case for me. When I write, then I feel good. And then my motivation is even become bigger when my writing is rewarded with published books. So that's the reason why I'm writing.
And you write very, very well. And when you write, I was remembering a movie that I watched, and in a conversation, someone is saying, don't be diplomat, please be honest. So when you write, I'm sure in your diplomacy and writing, the honesty is the main essence. And I was just looking at the book that I'm reading. It is called Lighthouse Family. And you have also bought few books. Would you like to introduce our audience some of the books?
Yes, so you have already introduced the Lighthouse family.
Lighthouse, I will talk about Lighthouse
Yes,
as
we
well.
will talk about this. This novel published last January by the Penguin Random House, and so become a bestseller in India, by the way. This is my first ever novel in Turkish, but will be published in English as well next year. The name of the novel is In the Shade of the Weeping Willows. This is also a historical fiction. And this novel was adapted to a TV series in Turkey and also translated into several languages. So this is the original version of the Lighthouse family, Sarpıncık Feneri, when we literally translated the lighthouse at Sarpıncık. So this is the original version. And this is İzmirli. İzmirli means the one from Izmir. So this is different than the other works. This is not a historical fiction. This is more emotional, psychological thriller. It talks about a passionate, very deep and sometimes obsessive love from the perspective of a woman. So this novel is also going to be published soon by the Penguin Random House with the name İzmirli, My Last Love. So these are my books, fiction books. I have also one non-fiction, but because we are talking about fiction now, I haven't brought it.
And that is on international law. You were born in Izmir. If I understand that, Ödemiş is also part of Izmir.
Yeah, yes, I was born in Izmir.
I would come to that. I'm not going to talk about this book because you need to collect that book. I'm sure it would be there, and take the opportunity to get it signed by Ambassador Sunel. While I was reading that book, the couple of things about this book, just for joining us, we just started. And Ambassador Sunel has introduced his 4 books, and we're uncovering, discovering, having a conversation why he writes. He has a great diplomatic career. He was stationed in 7-8 countries as Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Turkey. What is the motivation of writing? Great explanation. I'll come to that again. So this book that I was not able to finish, but book started with a description of a photograph of a children introducing a photograph to the audience. Like we all have the photograph with our grandmother, with our parents. And that's how you started, this book started, and you would anticipate who are the characters in that book. In that book as well, you would find a child who went to study in a school somewhere far away, and coming back and saying, when he was coming back, it was 8-9 hours of work, saying hello to the plants, hello to the trees, so happy. I wonder that this lighthouse you also discovered in Izmir. So how was your childhood memory connect to the Lighthouse family? It's also a very lonely book because it's a lonely family. They have gone through tremendous crisis. And I understood that you are also born in an immigrant family. So do you see any personal reflection of yours?
High probably, yes. This is not my biography.
I know that.
Yes, but as you mentioned, I belong to an immigrant family. And I was raised up with sad stories from my grandfather. They were born in today's Greece. They had their families there, everybody, and they had been living there for centuries. But then they just migrated to Turkey. But my grandfather, who died when he was 96, he was telling me his stories about his hometown. Until his last breath, he could not forget his hometown. So maybe that's why, in my every and each book, I have a chapter, or sometimes more than a chapter, about immigration. So the feeling of being uprooted. It has an influence in my novels.
Thank you. You reminded me a great piece recently done, I think it was a couple of years back, done by my favorite at least, Anushka Shankar. It's called Land of Gold. And when you look at the title of each of the pieces, you will understand the people when they migrate, the hope, the fear, and the aspiration, and the feeling of losing the root. And when I was also reading the subtitle of The Lighthouse, I could see the sequence in a way that entire journey, a child describing of war, and it ends with that, is this war is not mine. I'll come to that. I'm not going to, as I said, going to talk about that book, otherwise you will not get it signed by Ambassador Sunel. Sunel, other thing that I want, truly I'm curious, I'm sure our audience would be also curious, when did you start writing? I'm sure there is a secret about that.
This is a good question. I have been writing ever since I learned to write. So I wrote my so-called first novel when I was in 3rd grade at the primary school.
3rd grade?
3rd grade, yes.
We heard clearly, 3rd grade.
But I said so-called novel, okay, because it's a childish work. So it's like this, I was reading so much, and then one day I read the famous novel Robinson Crusoe. And I really liked this book. And then I said, I have to write my own version for Robinson Crusoe. Then I start writing, but children on this age, they are very enthusiastic. They always start writing, but they never complete, they never finish. But I finished. So, such a large, big, thick notebook. I completed. I wrote, the name of the novel was George the African. But it was very similar to Robinson Crusoe. So I completed, and I was so proud, of course. And then one day, I was walking around in the classroom with my so-called novel, very proudly, and my teacher saw it, and then she said, "Come, Farat, what is this?" I was so faint-heartedly said, "It is my novel. Give it to me." And I gave to her. She just flicked through the pages. And I was so afraid. I really thought, oh no, now she will scold me for wasting my time for such nonsense instead of studying. I'm really afraid of this. But she didn't. She just flicked through some pages, and then a smile appeared on her face. And then she turned to the classroom and said, "Kids, did you know that your classmate Farat, he's an excellent writer. He wrote a novel. Now, from now on, every day in the morning, he will read a small part of his novel." And can you imagine, for a child of 3rd grade, how encouraging is it? So I really am very thankful to my teacher. Maybe because of her, I am now here. So I started this like this. And then, really, I was so encouraged. And then I started writing short stories. I was writing diaries. And, over the years, I wrote and wrote. And my dream was to become an novelist one day. But it is not an easy thing. Imagination, okay, it's a backbone of the novels, but it is not enough. You must develop your own style. And, I express it like this: your pen and ideas must be mature. Unless this, you cannot write. So I didn't dare to write a novel and publish until my 40s. And then I was in Georgia, appointed as deputy chief of the Turkish embassy there in Tbilisi. I met some old people in their 80s, 90s. So they were Meskhetian Turks who were deported forcibly by Stalin during the World War II to Central Asia. I met with them. I heard their stories. They were really very, very sad stories. They told me how they deported, and then under the miserable condition, how about 40,000 of them died of hunger, diseases, and cold. And then I was very curious about this topic, of course. And then I went to the mountains in search for their lost villages. I went several times to the region and heard their stories again and again. I was so impressed, and I became so emotional. And then one day, I woke up in the morning, then I felt, yes, my pen and ideas had matured. Then I started writing my first novel, In the Shade of the Weeping Willows, this one. So it has taken 5 years of work, but completed, and my pen and ideas, of course, they never stopped after this. Then I wrote 2 more novels after this. So this is my adventure of writing.
That's a great adventure, and I wonder how many of you, I'll ask that question at the end, started thinking about writing at the primary grade or age of 3. So congratulations on that. As a child writer, now becoming a popular and global writer and diplomat. And I want to now connect that. Your imagination and most of your, although there are a lot of ingredients of love and other aspects in the book, but a big part is about society, politics, war, immigration, people uprooted. How that influence your diplomatic career? My hypothesis, we have few ambassadors also here, Ambassador Sonam, we have Ambassador Pema as well. How your ability to tell a story, your style of writing a story affect your diplomatic career, or vice versa?
Very positively, I would say. Being a diplomat opens me doors as a diplomat as well. So because they both write, they like writing, and we diplomats are trained to use right words, very carefully choosing the words. And this is also an advantage being of a writer, because as a writer you have to be careful using your words and sentences. So they feed each other, I would like to say. And I said, yes, being a writer opens me the doors as a diplomat. So a living example is now. I'm here in Bhutan because I am a writer. And I would like to extend my gratitude to Her Majesty for inviting me. She's also an accomplished author. And thank you really very much for making me a part of this auspicious event. So I'm very happy to be here. Diplomatic life, it is colorful. It is associated with culture as well, but not as colorful as the life of culture. But this is also one of my tasks as an ambassador. I have to promote culture. I have to build bridges between nations. So while writing, I also do my work as ambassador. So, best fiction, best novels or stories come together when the cultures meet. So this is also an advantage of being an ambassador. So we go all the world. We are appointed in many countries, and each appointment means new people, new smells, new culture, new traditions. And everything is so valuable source for our inspiration. We inspired everything from other countries, people. And sometimes we become a story of this. So this is really, diplomacy and culture, they can go hand by hand. They feed each other. They are similar in terms of narrative and so, but there are also big differences, of course. You have to be very careful. Yes.
I am truly delighted that you have mentioned those things, and organizers are indicating that we need to wrap up. We can continue for a day about discovering how your life as a novelist, writer, as well as diplomatic career is weaving together. But I would like to open the floor to see whether you have any question to Ambassador Sunel. Yes, I see one hand. I can take maximum 3 questions. Let's take the 3 questions, then I'll come to Ambassador, and then we'll conclude, wrap up. So please continue.
Your Excellency, quick question, not directly related to your work, but to Turkey. One of the best kept secrets of the West is the Byzantine Empire. I wonder if there's any interest in Turkey about the Byzantine Empire, and if there's any literature within Turkey, in Turkish, about that era of your region. Thank you.
So, Turkey is the crossroad of civilizations and cultures, and Byzantine Empire is also one of them. So, I'm not sure whether there was a well-known written literature pieces from Byzantine times. But there are lots, especially in Istanbul, buildings, artifacts, and they are all in good condition. Turkish government protects them.
Any other hand? Please go ahead, gentleman there.
Sorry for my rudeness, but it is a very simple question. Do you plan on writing another book in the future? And if yes, can you just please give a brief hint about what you're going to write it on?
Hold that question, because that is my question. I'm going to end with that. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us.
Can I make a break? Just one
yes,
question.
Please.
Has anybody birthday today? Yeah, okay, tomorrow? Okay, within the next week? Okay. I would like to present my book, but I have already presented to Your Majesty. But there's somebody behind. Yes, I will give it to you, and then after the session you can come and I will sign on your name. So now we can start more positively.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to
yes.
you. So, Ambassador Sunel, we couldn't finish all our conversation. We always have another opportunity, and I hope you will come next year again with your new book. So let me just combine that few questions together and end the session. One is, this is your second time visiting Bhutan, am I right? I have a curiosity that as a diplomat, as also ambassador to Bhutan, after visiting, knowing Bhutan, how Bhutan is going to influence your next novel, whether it's a historical fiction or a fiction, and what is the plan, what you are working on, and then we can perhaps conclude. Over to you.
Thank you very much. As an author, my mind is full with stories, characters, and one day they will be have their places in my heart and mind and become novels. I have some plan for the next 5-6 years. I have already completed 2 more novels which have not been published yet. And I am now writing a novel. And the countries where I am posted, they have always an influence on me. For example, I wrote this one when I was in Georgia, and I completed a novel which will be published soon. I wrote this novel when I was ambassador in Eritrea, Africa. And my next novel will be, I probably,
On Eritrea?
on
Eritrea?
India.
On India.
Because but Bhutan, when we come back to Bhutan, Bhutan is okay. I have been more than 60 countries so far, but Bhutan is one of my favorite countries. This is okay. I said in the beginning that as a fictionist, I like to exaggerate, but this is not exaggerate. I tell it from the deep of my heart. So, Bhutan is a beautiful country with beautiful people, honest people, and your hospitality. I have never witnessed such a hospitality, and so humble people, so clean, their hearts, their street, their minds, everything. And as a nature, really, 70% covered by forests, you can see and enjoy every tone of the green, every shadow, like here, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, it's real. And I love. I feel here like in a fairy tale. This is also not exaggeration. And I feel I am breathing and I am in peace. So Bhutan is a place, it will never disappear from my heart. I can tell it.
Thank you so much. With that note, Ambassador Sunel. And dear audience, Ambassador Sunel is very active in Instagram. I don't have an account, by the way. So I heard he is very active. Follow him. His next 2 books are already in making. 3rd book, we'll look forward to see the Bhutan influence and how Bhutan is featured in your literature. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
Great pleasure.
Thank you very much.